Daniel was a boy who spent a lot of time thinking. He was 9 years old, and most of his thoughts were quiet ones he kept inside his own head. He liked to walk down by the river, where the water moved slow and steady, just like the days. It was on one of these walks with the sun warm on his neck that he saw him. The dog was all by himself, sitting near the muddy bank. He was skinny, so skinny you could see his ribs plain as day. His fur was the color of dust and dirt, all matted and tangled up. He looked lost. He looked like he had been lost for a very long time, and maybe he had forgotten what it was like to not be lost anymore. The dog did not bark or growl when Daniel came close. He just lifted his head and watched with sad, tired eyes. Daniel had a sandwich in his pocket. It was his lunch. It was a simple sandwich, just 2 pieces of bread with a little bit of jam inside. But it was all he had. He sat down on the grass, not too close, but not too far either. He unwrapped his lunch carefully. The dog's nose twitched. He was hungry. Daniel could feel the hunger coming off him like heat from a summer sidewalk. He understood what it felt like to be hungry. He knew that feeling deep in his own belly sometimes. So Daniel did a simple thing. He broke his sandwich in half. He put one half down on the ground for the dog. The dog crept forward, slow and cautious, as if he couldn't believe it was real. He sniffed the bread, then gobbled it down in 2 quick bites. Daniel smiled a small, secret smile. He ate his own half of the sandwich, while the dog licked up every last crumb. He decided right then and there that the dog's name was Max. It sounded like a strong name, a good name. It sounded like the name of a friend, and that's what Daniel wanted more than anything. A friend. For the rest of the afternoon, they just sat there together. Daniel told Max all about his life. He told him about his school, and about his Mama Grace, and about how their little house always felt cold in the winter. He told him about his dreams, the ones he kept locked away. Max didn't say anything back, of course, but he listened. Daniel could tell he was listening. He would thump his tail on the ground every now and then, a soft, hopeful sound. When it was time for Daniel to go home, his heart felt heavy. He didn't want to leave Max all alone by the river. He promised he would come back tomorrow. That night, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about Max. He pictured him sleeping by the cold river, all alone in the dark. A dream started to grow in his heart. A big and hopeful dream. He would bring Max home. They could be a family. Max could sleep on the old rug by his bed. He would share his food with him every single day. The idea made him so happy that he could barely sit still. He knew things were hard. He knew his mother, Mama Grace, worried about money all the time. He saw the tired lines around her eyes when she came home from work. But this felt different. This felt important. Max needed him. The next day, Daniel did not go to the river alone. He took a piece of rope with him. He found Max waiting in the same spot, and Max's tail thumped harder this time, a real welcome. Daniel gently tied the rope around his neck like a leash. "Come on, Max," he whispered. "I'm taking you home." And Max followed him, just like that. He trotted right beside Daniel, as if they had been walking home together their whole lives. Daniel's heart felt like it was going to float right out of his chest. He was bringing his friend home. Everything was going to be okay now. He was sure of it. When he opened the door to their small house, Mama Grace was at the kitchen table, counting a few coins. She looked up, and her face went from tired to worried in a second. "Daniel, what is that?" she asked, her voice quiet but firm. "This is Max, Mama," Daniel said, his voice full of hope. He was all alone. "He's hungry. Can we keep him, please?" He held his breath. He watched his mother's face. He saw her look at the dog and then back at him. He saw the struggle in her eyes. He knew she saw how skinny Max was, how gentle he looked. But he also saw her glance at the few coins on the table. Her answer was a whisper, but it landed like a stone in Daniel's heart. "No, Golden. I'm so sorry, we can't. Tears welled up in Daniel's eyes. But Mama, he has nowhere to go. Mama Grace knelt and pulled him into a hug. Her own eyes looked shiny with tears. I know, she said, her voice thick with sadness. But we barely have enough for us. We can't afford to feed a dog. It wouldn't be right. You have to take him back. Daniel's heart broke into a million tiny pieces. He had to take his friend back to the lonely river. It was the hardest thing he had ever had to do. Daniel walked back to the river with heavy feet. Each step felt like a goodbye. Max walked beside him, his tail low, as if he understood. When they got to the spot where they first met, Daniel untied the rope. He gave Max one last hug, burying his face in the dog's dusty fur. I'm sorry, Max, he cried, his tears making damp spots on the dog's back. I'm so sorry. He turned and ran without looking back. He couldn't bear to see Max standing there all alone again. He ran all the way home, the tears streaming down his face, and crawled into his bed, pulling the blanket over his head. That evening, the little house was quieter than ever. Mama Grace made dinner, but Daniel didn't want to eat. The food reminded him of Max's hungry eyes. Every little noise outside made him jump, hoping it was the sound of a dog scratching at the door. But the door stayed shut. Mama Grace came and sat on his bed. She didn't say much. She just smoothed his hair and told him he had a good and kind heart. She knew he was hurting. She was hurting too because she couldn't fix this for him. They sat in the quiet sadness together for a long time. Later that night, Daniel heard it. A soft, scratching sound. Thump, thump, thump. It was coming from the front door. He slid out of bed and crept through the dark house. He opened the door just a crack, and there he was. It was Max. He was sitting on their doorstep, his tail making that soft thumping sound against the wood. He had followed him. He had found his way all the way from the river, through the unfamiliar streets, right to this door. He had come home. Max looked at Daniel, and his eyes weren't just sad anymore. They were full of loyalty. They said, "This is where I belong. With you." This time, when Mama Grace saw the dog on her doorstep, she didn't say no. She just looked at Max, who had walked all that way to be with her son. She looked at the hopeful, shining look on Daniel's face. She sighed, a long, deep sigh that was part worry and part surrender. She opened the door wider. "Well," she said softly, a tiny smile playing on her lips. "It looks like he has decided for us." And just like that, Max came inside. He wasn't a stray dog anymore. He was family. He found the old rug by Daniel's bed and curled up, finally home. Life was still hard. Money was still tight. But now, there was Max. He filled the quiet corners of their little house with small joys. He would greet Daniel with a wiggling body and happy licks every day after school. He would rest his head on Mama Grace's lap in the evenings, a warm and comforting weight. They shared everything they had. When they had a little food, Max got a little food. When they had a lot of love, Max got a lot of love. He didn't seem to mind that they were poor. He was just happy to be with his people. He brought a new kind of hope into their home. One day, Daniel was watching videos on an old phone. He saw people sharing stories about their lives, about their pets. And an idea sparked inside him, bright and new. It was a crazy idea, maybe, but it felt right. He could tell their story. He could tell the world about Max. He could show everyone how a lost dog found a home and how that dog brought so much happiness. He called their YouTube channel Daniel and Max's Story. With his mom's help, he made his first video. It was simple. It just showed him playing with Max by the river, telling the story of how they met. He didn't know if anyone would watch, but they did. People from all over the world started watching. They left comments. They said Daniel's story made them smile. They said Max reminded them of the power of love. People started sending them small gifts through the internet. A bag of good dog food for Max. A gift card for groceries. Someone sent money to help them fix the leaky roof on their house. The kindness of strangers poured into their small lives, all because Daniel decided to share his story. It felt like a miracle made of kindness. Today is February 4th, 2026, and Daniel looks at his life and can hardly believe it. Their house is warmer now. Their pantry is fuller. Max is healthy and strong, his coat shiny and clean. But the best part, the most important part, hasn't changed. It's the love. The love between a boy and his dog and a mother who works so hard. Daniel learned something powerful. He learned that love and loyalty are worth more than anything. He learned that even when things are hard, you should never, ever give up. Your story matters. And sometimes, sharing your story of kindness can bring a world of hope right to your front door.